The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Joining us now to discuss the rather tepid crypto markets is Greg Johnson, co-founder and CEO of investment advisors Rubicon Crypto. Good morning, Greg.
Lawrence, thank you too. Tepid indeed. And I don't know if I like the astrology component you mentioned in the earlier segment, but I think we're definitely in a market purgatory for some time until some big things start to happen around the regulatory front.
I kind of want to get that idea of a catalyst because right now it is kind of, and this has been going on for quite some time, where we're batting around in the 20s, the heydays of the 60 handles in Bitcoin are no longer, they're well behind us. But you think that it's going to be, what specifically regulatory wise would you think is going to move the markets? And this is kind of a long term, and also just short term, what do you think could move the markets?
Well, short term, I mean, I'm with you. I'm paying attention, of course, like everybody else in the industry, to what happens in September. I agree. The GDP numbers are more important to me in October. That was just earlier. But when we think about the merge, we're advising clients to take a long view on the merge, not just because of some of the reported information about there's really not going to be big savings in gas fees, or look, it's going to take time for the beacon to take hold and for you to get your staked ETH out. We look at the merge as one of the most important experiments in the blockchain community that's ever happened. And the success of this, I think, really lays the blueprint for other migration from, POW to proof of stake. And I think it's really important as a laboratory for the industry. And while, yes, it is important to ETH and the community there, and of course, that's going to have an impact on the market performance short term. Really, the big thing from the merge, from our perspective and what we're sharing with clients, is really about what does this do to set in motion broader moves, similar moves across the blockchain space. I think that's really interesting. To your earlier point, though,
Ethereum is undervalued right now, or do you think ETH is undervalued?
I think by the time we reconvene in Austin in April, we'll look back and say, yes, it is undervalued. I think we are going to see, strong performance from ETH. I'm not sure if we get back up to our October heady days in October, Christine, but I do think that this has been well thought out. I do think they've been very pragmatic in how they've prepared for Beacon. And so we are very optimistic that there'll be strong performance from ETH as a result of the merge, but not necessarily right away. Not necessarily right away.
Let me ask it this way. Do you think that the alternative layer one coins, the Solanas of the world, are they overvalued right now relative to ETH? In other words, is the trade to make shorting those guys, going long ETH, because let's say some of the projects that are right now on all of these other layer ones might go, hey, we did this because the gas fees were high on ETH. They've gone down. It makes more sense to us to go to a larger network than these smaller networks. Do you think that maybe the trade to happen would be short those guys and go long ETH?
I think depending on what stage those projects might be on, Lawrence, you may see some of that. But look, we just saw this morning, Helium took a beating overnight because it was reported that they were going to move to Solana in light of all the pending merge talk with ETH. And so you see an example of what many believe is a very interesting and important experiment in the IoT space, making a decision to move away from their own chain and perhaps go in the direction of aligning with Solana. And as you know, you have heavy support from the likes of FTX with that chain in particular. So no, I think you're going to see this kind of purgatory continue even after the merge with the layer ones also. I don't see a massive change in people that are committed. There's these projects, as you are well aware. But I do want to go back, Lawrence, to what you said about what we're seeing as far as what I'd like to see from a regulatory perspective. Let's begin. Listen, you were one of the voices consistently that was very sober about some of our algorithmic stablecoin experiments over the past year. I'm putting that mildly for any viewers that have been watching regularly.
That I was sober mildly. Yeah. You're putting that I was sober mild.
I'm being somewhat facetious, but you were very much on the point that we should have some rational exuberance around a lot of this. And I think the first thing we're going to see is more following of the suit in the state of New York, where they've started to finally put some regulation in place around, what are the required reserves? What are the durations around stable coins? It's just common sense. And I don't know anybody that's been busier than Nick over the summer. There's been a crescendo of scrutiny in the industry. And we believe that in order for big things to happen in the crypto markets, for us to go from being stuck at 16, 17, 18% US adoption, we're going to need the SEC, we're going to need the CFTC, we're going to need Treasury, we're going to need everybody to get on board. And over the next year or so, I think you're going to start to see more and more of that start to take place. That's when we start to see the network scale that everybody talks about, at least here in the US. The folks that we are targeting and we look at very closely are the clients of the wealth management industry. There's over $100 trillion easily in the registered advisory industry here in the United States. If just a small amount of that starts to migrate, the entire crypto ecosystem moves, and it moves exponentially. And I think that's why the regulatory clarity buzzwords are so important, I think, to everybody that's a part of the crypto community.
It's interesting you say that, because I often see regulatory uncertainty as causing the chilling effect in the crypto markets. But you're saying, if that gets resolved, that could be the catalyst for the next bull rally. Well, where do you see crypto at the end of the year?
Well, I see us mostly flat, to be honest with you. I think this is going to be a little bit of an up and a down. I don't think we're going to see too much change. I think I'm optimistic, to your earlier question, Christine, that we could see ETH have some short-term bounce. I think at the end of the year, we may see that leveling off. Really, where I see, if there is upward trajectory that sticks, it is going to coincide, I think, towards the spring. And that's really what we're targeting.